our previous episode, you watched me place the big patterns of light and shade and start defining them on this main sunflower. And I've brushed in some of these other flowers around it and a little bit of the foliage, carrying it about to the same degree as I did this main flower. So I was handling it exactly the same way, just looking at those shapes and putting down what I was seeing in terms of light and shade always. And I left this main flower alone so that I could go back in and for the video do some finishing touches on it. I just wanted to give some context to what I was working on, and so that I could go ahead and begin the finishing process here. So I'm going to just mostly be working on the outside silhouette now, and just trying to highlight a few of the main petals I see and give them a little bit more definition. So a lot of this, may involve me working with the knife more because of the sharp edges on some of these petals coming toward the viewer. There is a cast shadow right here, and I could give a bit of an indication where one petal is overlapping. I don't want to do a whole lot of that. One or two maybe within a flower, but if you carry that too far, you're just going to break up that big pattern of light and shade, and it's not really going to help you out that much. It's just going to confuse the whole big picture. So on the foliage, I use the same colors and notes pretty much for the flowers that I used in this one before, which I was describing to you as I painted, but the foliage is greenish, some greenish yellow, and then I have greenish umber, and that's mixed with some cadmium yellows. So and one of my cats decided to come in here and eat right as I started this, so you'll probably hear her in the background. They just have a knack for knowing when you really would rather they just keep napping. They wake up and decide instead that they're going to dig to China or something. So just carefully noting how far down each petal goes. I'm not going to define each petal either. I'm not trying to count these petals or make them all, as definite as you might see them looking up there at the real flower. But just to give enough definition that people can take a leap of faith and add more petals in their own vision. It's like they'll do some of the work for me if I just if I make sure that what is up there is really reading well. People will often just go ahead and fill in the blanks on their own. As I said, I'm mostly working with this outside silhouette now. I've sort of, I brushed in the big patterns, and they're very simplified, and I'm just keeping them as simple as I can. Some of these I may decide I want to play back down later if they're breaking up the big patterns too much, or they're just too repetitious or something. then I'll take a few of them back out. But there's a few highlights going on up here. Some of these tallest petals are just catching a rim of the light there. This is the part where I can't do it in this situation because you can't hear me if I back away, but this is the part where I'd be backing away a lot and checking each note to make sure that I'm still holding with these big patterns and keeping everything reading well, not overplaying any one particular area. So it's kind of hard to do it when you're just standing up close the whole time, but I think this thing has moved somewhat since I first started working on it, because some of these petals don't look in the same place. I know it's not me. I didn't do it wrong. Just kidding. But I definitely don't want to go in there and just noodle each little petal. And I don't want it to, I don't want everything to look totally symmetrical and even either. So down here now, this is a little more complicated because we're overlapping a flower. And I don't really want to have a lot of definition in there. That's one of those areas that I'm going to sort of let the viewer do in their minds. If I just suggest enough things well, they should sort of read that stuff for me. A little bit of a cast shadow as this one overlaps the other one, so. And then I can move on out and do the same thing with some of these flowers in that are around this piece. Always comparing them to what I've done on the main focal area and making sure that I'm not pulling attention away from there. You can see me, sometimes I'm putting paint on with the knife and sometimes I'm softening edges with the knife. So I kind of go back and forth with it. And that's pretty much the way I go about starting one of these sunflower pieces. just continuing on to breaking up the patterns, making a little bit more definition. But you start with really a pretty simple basic statement. It's just pretty broad. Those big notes of light and shadow. And if you really hit those well, you don't, it's surprising, as Hawthorne said, it's surprising how little else you need. But it's harder than it looks like just to hit those two notes really well. That's where really studying your values and knowing shapes, getting your shapes right will really help.
My name is Laura Robb, and I've been a professional artist for over 40 years. I first began taking art classes in Tulsa, Oklahoma while still in high school, and later moved to New York City to study art. My work has been featured a number of times over the years in publications such as Art of the West, The Artist Magazine, and Southwest Art, to name a few. For nearly 40 years, I have continuously been exhibiting my paintings in galleries, museums, and national shows. My teaching career spans several decades, and in this online course, I will show you the methods that experience has taught me work well to get information across to students. When conducting a workshop, I have two main goals. One is to help the students sharpen their ability to observe from an artist's point of view, something we are all continuously trying to improve on. These seeing skills are essential to every aspect of painting, from the relationships of values, color, shapes, and edges, to composition and creating a center of interest. My other goal is to show the students the ways I push the boundaries of what my materials are capable of in order to create a convincing feeling of light, form, and depth in my paintings. The demonstrations will be still life studies in oil, but most of the theories and lessons will apply to any medium or subject matter. Hope to see you in my course.